Hello and welcome to Upper Pen. My name is Dakota, and today I am again talking with Nat Webb about his newest project. Thanks for being here again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
So last year about this time, I talked to you about Wingraph, because that had just come out.
Yep.
And that seems to be doing so very well right now.
Yeah. I was so nervous, I think, last time we talked, just not knowing were people gonna like it. Was it gonna sell? Would I be able to keep doing it? And yeah, it's been even a better response than I could have wished for. So I'm really, really happy. Yeah.
I noticed that you've put out a couple of novellas for that. And then now you're putting out your own book, right?
Yeah. So there have been three issues of Wingraph, plus the Valentine's Day special, and then yeah, now we're and I say we, it's like, well, I'm doing it, but it's under the Wingraph banner, right? So putting out my first cozy fantasy novel, which is called Bard City Blues, and yeah, the idea is partially just to get my book out there, but also this is sort of an experiment for Wingraph of doing something other than just the magazine. And we've got a couple other sort of experimental things coming up. So this is just the first of many, but we're trying to branch out.
That is so fantastic. So tell me about Bard City Blues.
Okay, so it's the story of a young woman, a musician, who moves to the big city. She wants to join the Bardic Guild in this city, but she discovers that that is not so easy to do. It's hard to find a gig if you're not already a guild member. She needs to get sponsorship into the guild from her teacher, but her teacher is a jerk. She's trying to make ends meet, and so she winds up basically taking a job as a dishwasher in this shady underground tavern that probably seems like maybe it used to be a dungeon, right? And of course, there she meets, the whole cast of characters and has the has the cozy fantasy experience, right? I mean, it's very much a found family story inspired by books like Legends and Lattes, Can't Spell Treason Without Tea, Cursed Cocktails, a lot of the big ones. But the other piece of it is that before I became a writer, when I was a much younger person, I was a musician, guitar player, and worked and toured and recorded and stuff. So there's a lot of my story and even some stories from my life kind of woven into this. So it's also really a very personal book to me.
This sounds like the book I've been waiting for, to be honest.
Aw.
Just last night, before I got like the lowdown on what your book was going to be about, I
Yeah.
was looking for some cozy fantasy because I was like kind of like in a rut and I was like, oh, I need something. And this story sounds like it, really.
I'm so glad that really makes me happy. And this book, I've written a bunch of novels before. None of them, frankly, has really done all that well in terms of sales and reader response and stuff. This book has absolutely gotten the best response of anything I've written, of everything I've written. And writing cozy fantasy and editing cozy fantasy, I feel like I'm finally in a place where I'm doing exactly what I want, but it's also connecting with people and connecting with what readers want. And that's like a new place to be for me, but it's amazing, because I feel like I'm not compromising anything. I told the story I want to tell, but it's already getting this great response. So I'm really, really excited and also nervous. Mostly excited for people to read this because I think people are really going to like it.
So it's already written then, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's written, it's been through an editor, it's been through a bunch of beta readers. It's, there's probably still some typos I need to catch, but it's done. Yeah.
That is fantastic because the Kickstarter goes live March 2nd, right?
May 2nd, yeah.
May 2nd. Oh my gosh.
I always do that too. Yeah, it goes live May 2nd, which is very, very soon. But yeah, the hope is basically as soon as the Kickstarter is over, assuming we fund and everything, I'll be able to start really just putting the book together. At this point, I think the only thing that would slow it down is if we hit certain stretch goals, which would mean, the first stretch goal we're shooting for is actually to put a map into the book, just because I love when books have maps. Got to do that. that. So, that kind of stuff, if that happens, there will be a little more delay just because, I got to get my map guy, I got to get my art guy, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, we're really just ready to go. I've got the printer lined up because the other part of this experiment is trying to kind of move away from like the Amazon evil empire, right?
Yeah.
And so past books, you write a book, you put it all together, you sort of throw it into the black hole of Amazon, and then you cross your fingers and you hope somehow people will find it. That has not been working great other than WinGraph. But, for novels, we haven't had a lot of success. So trying to move away from just playing the Amazon game. But once you do that, it opens up a lot of other possibilities. And so one thing that I'm really excited about this is that we're going to print it in mass market paperback format, like the little pocket paperbacks, which Amazon doesn't do for whatever reason. They won't do that trim size. And so, again, if we fund, I've got actually a local printer 10 minutes from my house that I've already got things all set up with, and they're going to print these little paperbacks for me. And for me, like, I grew up reading mass market paperbacks, so to me that's like a real book in a way that like a trade paperback isn't, and it's totally irrational, but I really wanted to do it, so I'm just going to do it.
In my opinion, trade paperbacks are too big for my hands, so like I can't, like, the mass market ones are just perfect to like sit in the palm of my hand.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Or like I read in bed a lot, so the heavier a book is, the worse it is for reading. But like a little pocket paperback, it's like I can hold it in one hand, I can roll on this side, I can roll on that side. I think they're great. I love them.
I do too. Do you have like an art style picked out for the cover yet?
Yeah, I actually have already gotten the cover and gotten some of the interior illustrations, because this is another thing that I've always wanted to do, and I'm just going completely all out for this book. So I found this amazing artist named Chris Puga, who does everything by hand. So it's none of the art is digital, it's all hand painted. So the cover is a watercolor that Chris did, and then the interiors, he drew it, inked it, and then they're all like ink wash because they're going to be black and white, obviously. So all the art was made by hand, and then Chris scanned it. And yeah, the cover I think it's gorgeous. It looks a little different from most modern books. I think it looks a little more old-fashioned maybe, but that's what I love about it.
I loved so I have like this weird love of 1970s and late 60s paper mass market paperbacks. So they're actually what I collect, because the artwork on the cover is so unique and gorgeous. So like, I'm stoked.
That's awesome. Yes, you're exactly the kind of person that I want to find with this book. Paperback nerds like me.
Yeah, it is kind of it's like a weird niche, right? But I find more and more people on Twitter are very into this.
Hopefully they'll find them or they'll find me. Yeah, I collect the Daw Yellow Spine paperbacks from when they started in the 70s and 80s. And it is really true. Like, there are some amazing covers on, these like otherwise fairly cheap looking books. But the covers like Michael Whalen, the painter who does all Brandon Sanderson's covers for like the Stormlight Archives, he started just doing random paperbacks for Daw, and this was now 50 years ago or whatever. But I mean, yeah, they're amazing. I love them.
I'm glad that you found somebody that is in that style, though, because I think it fits so well with cozy fantasy.
Yeah,
like this, just sit and read.
Yeah, the fact that it's hand painted, and you can even see, because it's watercolor, right? So you can even see sort of still hints of like the pencil sketching and stuff underneath. I think it's really, I love it. I'm really excited.
So, okay, you wanted to get away from Amazon's massive, awful publishing. I've heard some true horror stories about like people getting copyrighted against their own work because people take it and they post it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, is that why you're going Kickstarter then?
Yeah. So there's a couple reasons, and that's a big one of them, right? Is anytime you have everybody reliant on just a single thing. I mean, as we know from Twitter, right? Like that thing can be taken away or can fall apart, and then everybody's scrambling and doesn't know what to do. So yeah, partially it's just, what are other tools that I can use to create the things that I want to create. And two, I think the other big drawback of Amazon publishing is it really incentivizes writers and publishers to cut costs as much as possible, right? There's very much sort of this race to the bottom effect where, in the Amazon ecosystem, you're expected that, your book is going to be $5 or you're going to be giving it away for free, or if it's listed on Kindle Unlimited, like I don't remember the exact numbers, but, for WinGraph, if we sell a copy of the ebook, we get, $4 or whatever. But if somebody actually sits down and reads it, start to finish, cover to cover on Kindle Unlimited, we get $1.25 or something, and it's just this bizarre thing where like Amazon, their whole thing is everything should be cheaper for everybody, right? And and granted, like for readers, obviously that has a lot of benefit, but it's really putting the squeeze on authors and publishers in a really tough way that, again, Amazon can do because they're almost the only game in town.
Yeah, and it seems like for indie authors or people who are maybe self-published, it's very difficult to get paperback copies of their work sold because Amazon will only push the Kindle version or the Audible version. Yeah, so it just seems so rough.
Yeah, it is. And then again, you're in this big pool where there's millions of books. I heard recently there's something like 15,000 books published every day, something like that. And, a lot of those are self-published. But you're swimming upstream just trying to get attention. And that's another fun thing about Kickstarter, right, is that it's all about making it this big event. So it makes it much easier to promote. And then, of course, we're doing a ton of like giveaways and free freebies and perks. The earlier you pledge, the more free stuff you get, all this stuff to make it a big event. But like, that's so much more fun than just like pressing release and it's on Amazon now, and then you try to get people to buy it.
Yeah, and it's so hard to publicize or like try and get your book out there, it seems, on Amazon or any of the other little sites, really. But like Kickstarter seems to do a pretty good job of like advertising
it's actually
for you.
They seem to know how to actually bring people in, and then they want to do that, of course, because they want you to succeed and make more money because they take their cut, right? But like, for whatever reason, Kickstarter actually does some of the lifting with you, not all of the lifting, but they share the load with you and help actually drive people to your campaign in a way. Yeah, Amazon doesn't care. They want you to buy ads on Amazon, right? That's what they want. And Kickstarter is different.
I am very excited. Do you know what your other stretch goals are going to be?
Oh, yes, I do. How many can I reveal? Let me think. So the first one is a map. The second one will be a bonus story that if we hit that, it'll be an extra story featuring the same characters from the book and actually put into the book. So it won't just be like a download. It'll actually, it'll be in the back of the book for you to read after you finish the novel. This is technically a secret, but the next one is more interior art. So I've already talked to Chris, and I'm kind of tentatively on his schedule, right? So if we hit that third stretch goal, we're already set with he's going to do more paintings for the inside of the book. After that, I should probably keep it a secret for now, but I'm hoping we'll get there. I mean, even if we just get a map, we'll be so happy. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff. I'm very excited.
What is your goal for it?
Yeah, so the base goal is $860, and that basically covers a print run and all of the art that I've already contracted with Chris for. And that's, also like Kickstarter takes their cut, and there's shipping costs and there's taxes and whatever, right? So that's, a bigger number than I will actually spend on the things, but that's what I have to make that work, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's $860, and that'll get us, the printed book with 14 pieces of interior art plus the cover, and then it's all just gravy from there.
I think you're going to have a lot of gravy. I think you're going to surpass that 800 and change.
I really hope you're right.
Yeah. So, my brain died.
That happens to me constantly when I'm doing these things. I start a sentence and it just kind of wanders off.
Yeah, it just poofs away. So you said you put a lot of yourself into this book because it is based on some of your experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you go about choosing? Like, what happened? How did you get here?
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So definitely, I've got a lot more stories from my life in music that I'm still sitting on. So, if I get to do a sequel, there's plenty more content in there. But yeah, I mean, basically, a lot of the theme of this book is there's the guild bards, and they all live on Symphony Hill, and they play at these super upscale taverns, and they make a really good living, and it's all very fancy and stuff. And then there are what are called the gutter bards, who are the bards who, for one reason or another, haven't joined the guild. And so they're playing in these crummy places, scraping away, trying to, get a couple coins together so they can afford to eat, kind of thing. And where this came from, so when I was in my 20s, working as a musician, I had my band, and we we were the gutter bards. We were driving up and down the East Coast in like a broken down van, playing gigs to half empty rooms, and we wouldn't get paid, that kind of thing, right? And just trying to make enough for gas money, really, so we could keep doing it. But then I also had a couple of gigs that were very different. So I played with a woman named Jana Mashoni, who is sort of a like R&B diva singer. She was nominated for a Grammy. She's won a bunch of Native American music awards. And when I did a show with Jana, it would be like, okay, we'll all meet at the airport and we'll all get flown to somewhere across the country, and everybody gets their own hotel room, and we'll get room service. And, it was like this super cushy, and just the divide between those two things was so huge, even though it was still just me. I wasn't playing better or worse at any particular gig, but sometimes it was like living in the lap of luxury, and sometimes it was sleeping on the bottom of a van. So yeah, that's a big part of this story for sure. And that's all definitely very personal to me.
I love that so much because it just seems like that is this type of story that I want in these fantasy settings, is like the real things that people go through. And I think that's why Legends and Lattes hit so hard for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
Are you doing anything else, or is it you're just working on this Kickstarter right now?
Well, yeah, I'm doing a lot of other stuff, actually. I'm very focused on the Kickstarter because that's what's up now, and obviously they take a lot of care and feeding to make them succeed. But we will be reading submissions this summer, probably, I'm thinking July, but sometime this summer, for the 4th issue of Windgraph. So that's on the docket. And then, as I mentioned, we've got a couple other sort of secret projects in the works. I don't want to give too much away, but we've got at least 2 things coming out this year that aren't the magazine. Possibly 3. I'm still in talks with somebody about that, but yeah, there's a lot cooking, and at this point, honestly, I'm just mostly have to sit on it because I want people to focus on one thing at a time, So back to Kickstarter, and then the next thing will also be awesome after that. Once we've done that.
I'm so glad that that all of these things are coming together, though. I love Windgraph so much, and I love the stories that you guys put out on your website. And yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, again, it really is just, I'm making what I want to make, and it's actually connecting with people, and just, even above and beyond the fact that it actually means that we can afford to keep going and keep making stuff. Even if that were put aside, it's so satisfying. It just feels really good to be making stuff that people really love.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And thank you so much for coming and telling me about your new Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Broad City Blues is the name of the book, right?
Bard City Blues, yep.
Bard City Blues.
Yeah. Broad City was a TV show. Great show, but yeah.
Yeah, I just know all the words today. Bard City Blues on Kickstarter, May 2nd.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, we launch 8 a.m. on May 2nd.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And if anybody out there hasn't checked out Windgraph, this is the time. And yeah, thank you and have a great day.
Thanks so much for having me.